Alright, in this training we're going to talk about the actual Counterpunch Express calculator. That's the indicator that puts the trades on the chart and that shows up in the data window. Okay, the first thing you have to do is insert the indicator onto your chart. And whether you're using TradeStation, NinjaTrader, or MT4, you have to go through the routine that platform requires for inserting an indicator. With TradeStation, you merely right-click on your chart, insert analysis technique, and you're going to find it in the Show Me tab. And you go down to NP CPX underscore Calc, and you go ahead and insert that by clicking OK into your chart. Of course, I already have it inserted. I'm going to show you the calculator in TradeStation. In MetaTrader and in NinjaTrader, it is identical. So I'll just be teaching you this with the platform that I'm comfortable with. So to open it up, you could either right-click on your chart and go to Format Analysis Technique, and then choose it from the indicators that are on your chart. Another thing you can do is just double-click on one of the calculator symbols. I usually just grab a target, double-click on it, and it opens right up. And these are all the inputs to the calculator, and they're all pretty basic. Okay, so the first thing I want you to notice is how all these inputs are named. Notice that there's a number in front of each input name. That's so that it is in the same order as MT4, NinjaTrader, and TradeStation. They're all the same. It's in the same order. It's got the same names, the same numbers to label them. Everything's identical. The first input is the version date of the indicator. This is the last date that it was updated. So if for any reason in the future we update this indicator, the version date will change. Okay, you're not really going to use that field. Then you have three customized fields. They're comment fields, and they're really there for you. And you could type anything you want in between the quotes. So you could use this to name your work. For example, this is a Euro USD chart. You might just type in EUR USD 5 minute or whatever. Okay? And then you can put whatever notes you want in the second one and the third one. If I'm creating a trade plan, I usually do it the same way every time. I'll put the chart that it is. I'll put some note on it, whether it's a 4-position trade or if it's green trades only or whatever, something simple. And then on the third one, I'll put the date that I created it. The next input is your entry offset ticks. And what that is, it's where your entry is in relationship to the setup bar. Let me close this and make it just a little bit larger. You'll notice on this setup bar right here that the low of the bar is 1.12729. We have this set to be 20 ticks below the low of the bar. 20 ticks is equal to 2 pips. And so we want it to be 2 pips below because TradeStation uses the 5th digit, that extra digit, which is 1/10 of a pip. All right, so you'll notice the entry is at 12709. The low of the bar is 12729. So it's exactly 2 pips below. I could change that with this input here, entry offset ticks. So if this is crude oil and I wanted it 2 ticks below, then I would have to make this a 2. But because we want to be 2 pips below for Forex, I need to account for the extra digit, so I have to put it in as a 20 ticks. Okay? So depending on your broker, you might put 2 in for 2 pips, or you might put 20 in for 20 ticks, which equals 2 pips. Okay? And this is for Forex. The next input is called maximum bars for setup. All right, and if you'll remember, I told you that a setup can come on the third dot or up to 4 bars over. Notice that this one comes 2 bars over. Here's the third dot, 1, 2. The first red bar to close below the signal line, 2 bars over, but it could go up to 4 bars. So if this is green or above the signal line and the first red bar to close below the signal line is the 4th bar, your setup would be here. Okay? That's what this means. So you could change it. If I change it to 1, where it's only 1 bar over, this setup's going to disappear because it's 2 bars over. Watch. See how it went away? Because it's only going to look 1 bar over. So by default, we're going to keep it set to 4. But for Forex, for a day trade chart like this, I actually like 5. And that'll be described to you in the Owners Club trade plans. The next group is for your stop, and that's going to say where the exhaustion dots are, and they're typically going to be 2, well in this case it's 2 ticks above the high point of those 3 bars, but for Forex we actually want it to be 2 pips above. So we would put in 20, right? Just like for the entry, we don't want it 2 ticks above, we want it 2 pips above. Watch how the dots react. See how they moved? Now they're 2 pips above the highest point of the 3 dots, of the bars that correspond with those 3 dots. Okay, so you can play with it. You know, open up a chart, play with these settings. And the next settings are pretty obvious. There's target 1, target 2, and target 3. Now target 1 is set to 1.5. Normally, the default is going to be 1, 1.5, 2. Watch what happens when I change it back to the default. Watch all the targets move closer to the entry. See? See how they move closer? But because we have to pay spread in Forex, I always like to push my targets out half a step with these day trade charts for Forex. So I'm going to put them up to 1.5, 2, and 2.5. Now, look at how target 1 is on the yellow line. Now that I pushed it down half a step, you'll notice how it moves lower. See? Everything moved down half a step. Alright, so you have a lot of control of your targets. And I'm going to show you some tricks on what you could do with your targeting in the next video. For this, I just want to explain to you how the calculator works. Then we have the ignore small trades. Remember I showed you that if a trade is too small, typically 10 ticks to target 3, or in the case of Forex, 10 pips, right? Well, this is set to 10 ticks, which would be great for crude oil. But 10 ticks is only 1 pip. A 1 pip target 3 is not going to happen. What we want to set that to is either 100, which would be a 10 pip. If you want to take care of spread also, so it's 10 pips plus 2 pips of spread, for example, you could put in 120 ticks, which is 12 pips. And that'll eliminate small trades. Next, you can turn on or off each setup. So use CP. That's another way of saying use the white trade. Set to true. Use failed levels. That's the green trade. That's set to true. You can set it to false. You can set any of these to false. Use seconds. That's the purple trade. That's also set to true. So if you're using all 3 setups, leave everything at true. You might end up wanting to do a trade plan with only white trades, in which case you would turn that to false, and you would set this to false, and now you only get white trades. See, there's a white trade, there's a white trade. You can do that. Maybe you only want white and green, or white and purple, or green and purple. It's up to you. You have that flexibility. Next is the ability to turn the actual setup dots off and on. You might decide that you just don't want them anymore. You could already recognize where the exhaustions are, and you don't need to see those dots. And that's going to clean up your chart. So I'll just move this over, and if you set that to false, the dots go away. The stop is there. See, there's still a dot for your stop level, but the actual exhaustion dots are gone. And that's a cleaner way to look at the chart. I personally like the exhaustion dots. I think they give me a quick at-a-glance view of what's actually taking place in the market. So I always set mine to true. Okay, the next indicator input is the signal line length. So you've got the signal line, right? The dotted cyan line. The default setting is 9. And when we put that on the chart, it's set to 9. But the calculator doesn't care what you have on your chart. It has a signal line that's hardwired into its code. And so you have an input control. It's set to 9. Maybe we're going to do a trade plan with the signal line on some customized chart that's set to a different length, and this is where you would want to change it along with changing the actual indicator on your chart. And that's it. It's really simple. The last 3 items are just for aesthetics. You could change the color of your setups. White, green, purple corresponds with your I-30, I-31, and I-32. Those colors. Okay? Now, there's a few other useful settings. One is that you may want to change the style. If you want them larger or smaller, you can go to Style. Like maybe I want my exhaustion dots bigger. Let me go back and turn the exhaustion dots. Show setup dots. Okay, I have to hit OK in order for them to come back. So there, they're back. But maybe I want them larger. Maybe they look too much like targets. Or, I don't know. I want them to stand out more. I can go to Style, and then these plots up here on the top are your exhaustion dots, and I can just make them all bigger, like this, see? Choose each one. Click on a bigger style. You can even make them smaller. It's up to you. Now watch when I hit OK. Now they're bigger. Okay, so you have the ability to do that with each of your targets as well. And your entry. Maybe you don't like the thicker entry. Maybe you want your entry to be smaller. You have a short entry and a long entry and a short entry, so you have to do them both. There, see? Maybe that looks cleaner to you. I like going one thicker because it helps it stand out, and you could even go thicker still. Okay, so you do have some controls over how your chart looks. But that's basically it. That's your calculator. As you click on each bar, you get your trade right there on the data window.